Good evening, everyone. My name is Antoinette Jefferson, and I'm here to tell you why I love men. Now, forgive me if I stumbled a little bit. I'm always in my nerves when I first start talking, no matter how many times I've done it, so please forgive me. Now, before I tell you why I love men, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. And the reason I want to tell you is because I don't want you to think that it's just that I love men. Now, there will be nothing wrong with that, but I also love life. I also love God. So a little bit about me. I have graduated from 6 universities, so I have 6 earned degrees, one of them being a law degree. I passed 2 different bar exams, and people already know, but just in case you didn't, it's an exam you take after law school to move forward to becoming a licensed attorney. And I have also published and written 10 books. They're available with online distributors, Amazon, so on and so forth. By way of work, I volunteered a lot. So I volunteered over 2,000 hours doing volunteer work. One of those endeavors was working with the Mid-Atlantic Innocence Project, helping to review files for the exoneration of individuals who have been wrongfully convicted. I've also volunteered work doing work with legislative comments, logging legislative comments for civil rights. And I've also worked with GW Street Law when I was in law school, and a little bit thereafter to help teach individuals in the inner city schools constitutional law. So that's a little bit about me, but that's not why I'm here. I just wanted to set the stage. I'm actually here to tell you why I love men. And sometimes people think that if you show your love or admiration for someone, that there's nothing else there, there's no substance, but there really is here. What I'm trying to say is that there are so many men who have done so many things in life. They've protected, they've provided. And sometimes they're the unsung heroes. Sometimes they're the men who've done so much and they're the strong, silent types, and we don't really give them their appreciation. Just think about Mother's Day. On Mother's Day, and don't get me wrong, Mother's Day is a great day. But think about Mother's Day, you get the cards and the candy and the flowers. But what happens on Father's Day? Not much. But fathers are just as responsible for bringing a child into the world as a mother is. And so we want to appreciate fathers also, appreciate men, even if they aren't fathers. And so there are also individuals who haven't had good experiences with men, and I understand that. Sometimes those experiences have been tough. Maybe an individual has had sexual abuse or molestation, and those things aren't good. Not every man has done good things. Some men have done bad things, and we have to look to God and ask that they be forgiven for their sins, but also that we know that there are good men. And so those of you who haven't had those good experiences with men, there will always be a time, I believe, that God will bring a good man into your life. Because there's no God, God is not cruel. God is not a cruel God. He's not a mean God. He's not a bad God. But he's a loving God and a consistent God. So he'll bring that experience to you. I believe he'll bring that experience. Maybe it's a teacher or a coach or a friend or a distant relative, or maybe even someone in Hollywood. Maybe it's Denzel Washington and his example of being a husband to a wife. So I believe that everyone will have an experience where they'll be able to say they know a good man. And so let me tell you a little bit about my experience. So and with the different types of love, because I want to tell you why I love men, and why I love men is because my God first loved me. And he loved me with an agape love, a true love, a consistent love. And I want to share with you how much I love because God has shown that love to me. And there are also other types of love. There's erotic love or romantic love, and then there's filial love also. So with romantic love, that's typically the love between a man and a woman, and in a marriage or in a dating relationship. And then there's also a filial love or a friendship love, and that's the love between friends, a consistent love and accountable love, and that also incorporates agape love. And agape love, again, is the love of God to an individual. Now, I don't want to sound like I know everything up here. I know you're probably like, why is she wearing pink stretch pants? But, I want you to just be with me as I go on this journey with you, as I tell you about why I love men. So I had an experience when I was about 5 or 6 years old when I went to church, and there was a young man there who also went to church. So this wasn't a romantic love because we were only 5 or 6, and this is very innocent. But we grew up together, so we've known each other for decades. And when we were in church together, we would do different things like sing in the choir, or we may go to a restaurant together as a group, because at that time it was group gatherings for individuals in churches. And we may play basketball together or have an event at a family's house. And I took a liking to this young man. He was cute and funny and smart. And I think he also took a liking to me. But I thought that he also liked someone else. And because I thought he liked someone else, I thought I would do the mature thing. This was probably going into 17, 18 years old, what have you. I thought I would do the mature thing and say, hey, if you like this other individual, go be with this other individual. And if you like them, stay with them. But if you want to be with me, come back to me. And that was the first lesson I learned, because he did go and date that other person. They didn't last an excessively long time. We'll call this guy Jay. But they did have a relationship, and I was hurt behind it because I wasn't honest with myself. What I told him to do was what I read in books. If you love it, let it go, and it'll come back to you. But I wanted him, what I should have done is been honest with him and said from the start that I want you to stay with me. I want you to prove that you love me, so I won't have any doubts about whether or not you love someone else or whether or not you want to be with someone else. So that was the first lesson I learned. And my second, that was filial love, a godly love, an agape love, a burgeoning romantic love, but not at that point. We were still young. Now, there's also a second type of love, an agape love, the love of family. There are many in your family that show you God's love. Maybe they are your grandfather or your father or your uncle or a cousin or what have you. And I had a grandfather, and I was appointed by the courts to be a guardian to him. He had, his legs had become weak, his vision had become dim, and he was having a hard time later in life, and I was appointed to be his guardian by the courts. And it gave me an opportunity to show to him the love that he has shown to me my entire life. I always loved my grandfather, but I had opportunity to care for him, to make his medical decisions and things of that nature, his end-of-life care. And he was such a great man. He was accountable, responsible, loving, kind, caring. And I said, when I marry a man, now I didn't want to marry my grandfather, but when I marry a man, I would like to marry a man who has these qualities. And I remember when we were young, he would take us to the CVS. It was People's back then. I don't know if anyone remembers People's, but we would go to the CVS and we would go school shopping, and he would say, once you get it up here, no one can take it away from you. He was high on that. He was good on education. It was very important to him, and he instilled that into us. Myself and my 3 brothers, and my 3 younger brothers. And so he would go to CVS and he would say, now get what you want. I would get trapper keepers and paper and construction paper and scissors and glue and pencils and everything. And he would pay for all the items in preparation for school, for the first day of school, and he would put it over his shoulder. And he wasn't driving at that time. He could, but he chose not to. And he would walk 1 or 2 miles to the house, and then I would go through those things when I got home and look at all the things he had bought me, and I would feel his love. I would feel for the gift giving and the consistency, how important it was to him to be a good man to his grandchildren, and he definitely was. So that was the second type of love, and I learned what God's love really is through a family member, a good, appropriate love. So the first love, the love of my early sweetheart, and then the love of my grandfather, and agape love. And then moving into college, in my early years, I dated a guy. You put that guy in the friend zone or what have you, and he was a really great guy, and I didn't want to date him at that time, but we were friends, and I was high on life when I was in college. I was in fashion shows, and I played intramural sports, and I did well, graduated magna cum laude. But after college, I had a hard time. I had a very difficult time, and I didn't feel very good about myself. I had a traumatic experience happen. I didn't feel very good about myself. And this guy, I kind of went growling back to him, not to put myself out there, but and he embraced me. He said, Antoinette, I still like you. I still love you with a good type of love. And he wanted to date me. He still wanted to date me. Everyone has their feelings about why he wanted to date me, but he still wanted to date me, and he showed me consistency. He showed me real love. He showed me stability. And I was very, very blessed to have him in my life. So that was the third type of love, the erotic or romantic love, you may say. And so through all these experiences, and through that experience, I learned that I had faith in mankind. It gave me faith in men. It gave me faith in the ability of a man to love even through difficult circumstances. So I loved and I have been loved, and I'm so thankful for the love I've experienced because it allows me to love men because they have loved me so well. And I've been through these experiences, and maybe again you haven't had exactly that experience, but you have something you can point to say that there's been someone positive in your life who can show you the love of God. So I've had these experiences. I'm so grateful to have had these experiences and for God's love in my life. So I thank you all for listening and for being here. And I thank Sean Fair for this leadership experience tour. It's been a great time, and I hope you've taken something away from my speaking tonight. Thank you, and have a great evening.